and we look like we're working to me. So what do we got today? Well, today we're going to work on a new gaming board. So this is my Death Cube. I absolutely love this thing. I think it completely changes the way that you play skirmish games. Um, and I think it's infinitely amazing. However, I really have a hankering for some fantasy games, and I want to play some fantasy stuff. Maybe a little bit of Rangers of Shattered Deep, maybe a little Five Leagues from the Borderlands, maybe I'll try out. Um, or something like Mordheim. I'm not going to actually play Mordheim, but you know, that kind of thing. Or maybe I'll play some Fantasy Quests from OPR, right? So that means that I have to make a fantasy version of this now. Because honestly, I think this is my favorite way to play like skirmish games now. Partly because the limited movement ranges means that your characters actually move around and do a whole lot of stuff. They don't kind of just like get to one spot, stay there, and then die. They end up moving around and opening doors and climbing up and falling down, and it's very interactive, right? And I like that a lot. So because of that, I really want to make a fantasy version. Now, one of the previous streams, I talked about ways to do this, and um, I've been kicking around a couple different ideas about how to accomplish a fantasy version of the Death Cube. And I think I have a plan. So let me show you guys my plan. All right. Behold, paint. So useful. All right. So the Death Cube as it stands works like this. There is one level, and in that level there is one layer, and then a spacer layer, and then another layer. Now, this spacer layer is here so you can do things like put floors and stuff without unbalancing everything. Because the two important pieces of a Death Cube layer are the height, because this and this have to be the same height, and the fact that kind of everything lines up. The terrain pieces that we're using from Saucerman Studios, they have pegs on them, and if they don't line up, basically the entire thing just will not work. So we need to 100% make sure everything lines up. So that's the point of that spacer layer in the middle. Now with the Death Cube is it's two of these layers stacked on top each other. And then I can rotate which way the layers are facing orientation wise. And then on top of this, there's the like entry level where I built some little forts essentially and have a open grass area. Now, this fantasy Death Cube is going to be a little bit different. I'm not going to have two layers I can rotate on each other, and I'm going to have a flat top. So that means that there's going to be no pegs on the top. Now, the reason I'm going to do this is that I'm going to be able to do things like put modular broken houses and stuff up here and kind of rotate these around depending on whatever the game I'm playing is. So like I could put like a broken city up here and play something like Mordheim. And then down underneath, you'd have kind of the catacombs and the sewer or the dungeon, right? And on top, you'd have like the destroyed ruined city. That's my plan. Or I could do something like put some trees up here and a little grass mat. And now I have a forest that's over top of like a crypt. Um, that's my intent with making this like surface level really flat. So I can switch out what goes on top versus it always being like a rusted out, destroyed facility, the way the Death Cube is. Now I think the Death Cube works great for that. 10 out of 10. I'm not not criticizing the death cube as it stands. I think it works really, really well. But I think I can make this even more reusable and even more modular. It does mean that this one's going to be a little bit shorter, and it's not going to have two layers that are going to switch in and out. So I'm not going to be able to swap two layers to change heights. However, the internal layers are going to be bigger. Now they're not going to be double the height. What they're going to be is a half height, a spacer, a full height, a spacer, a half height, a spacer, and then a full height. Right? So like one, this one's like a 0.5, that one's a 1, and this one's like a 0.5. And that's going to mean this is going to end up being, instead of being 6 inches tall this level, this sucker's going to be 9 inches tall. And it means that when I put things like a floor in here on this level, you'll have more space between the levels. So you'll be able to play in that floor a little better. You'll have more like hand space and interactivity there. That's the intent with this level of Death Cube. So let's take a look at what we've got parts-wise. There we go. Okay, cool. Yeah, don't got any notifications or anything. Oh. All right, cool. All right, so let's take a look at what we got parts-wise. So Saucerman Studios are the ones that make the Death Cube. Let me rephrase that. They make the parts that I've turned into the Death Cube. They don't actually show anywhere on their website how to make something like this. This is me kind of repurposing something else that they have made. These parts are really intended to replace the spaceship walls from GW, but there's a whole lot more you can do with these than just make a nicer version of the GW product. So I have been printing out for the last week or so tons of parts. And what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to assemble this sucker. Now, I'm not going to glue anything down to the very, very end. And the reason I'm not going to do that is because the first thing we have to glue down is the lowest level. And it's going to take a while to set. Not because like the glue takes a while or anything like that. It's just the nature of I'm going to have to glue it in a couple pieces and then leave it alone and that kind of thing. It's going to take a little while because of that. Now, let's see. I don't know if I have enough spacers either, so I might actually need to print some more spacers. But we'll pull out the ones we got and we can look at them. Sorry, I still have a whole bunch of sci-fi Death Cube pieces because I am actually making another level of my sci-fi Death Cube as well. I'm going to make a level with a big, like, tear in the center. That'd be pretty cool. Okay, there we go. All right, that's what we got. That one's for the sci-fi Death Cube. All right, that's what we got. What we got. Hello. Okay, so let me go over the basics. Put all that shit off to the side. Okay, this is our basic floor piece for the sci-fi Death Cube, for the Death Cube. Okay, now it has a block or a peg system for one full thing. There's 2 pegs here, quarter of a peg there, 2 pegs on the side, right? So that looks like that. This, when you put it together, will make a 1 by 1 square like this. And this is the floor of the death cube right here. It's 4 of these 6x6 inch tiles. Now these are the 6x6 inch tiles. This is an add-on to the Saucerman Studio core set. But it's, I don't know, like $4 or something. But it's an add-on, and you wind up with this. Now this is the floor of the death cube. So you get a pillar, you get 4 of these like this. Sorry, I have to check the bottom of some of these because some of them didn't print out perfectly, and I need to. I'm gonna have to drill them out, so which is fine. I'm just checking them because of that, right? So, all right. So this is what she looks like. Okay, so that's one floor level of the death cube. Now, this looks probably very familiar to anyone who's ever played Necromunda, because this is how the tile, the 1 foot by 1 foot tile in Necromunda is set up. It's actually using the same exact spaces. So you could very easily use these Death Cube or the Saucerman Studios pieces to build a Necromunda setup as well. I mean, that's kind of what the Death Cube really is, but if you wanted to make like traditional Necromunda tiles, it would be really easy to do that. Now, we've got these guys here, right? First thing that we're going to have to do, and I'm not going to be able to do this until the very, very end, is we're going to have to connect these together to each other. And we're going to do that. Of course, I don't have any regular ones. We're going to do that with these. And essentially, we will glue one side down. And then we will glue the sides down like this. And then we will flip it over, do the other side for the other piece here. And then we will glue them together. And it's the way that I found to get the straightest base level and the flattest base level. So that's something we'll do kind of at the very end. Actually, I don't actually know if I even have those pieces, so maybe we won't actually even get to gluing that. So that might be a thing Josh prints when we are done streaming for the day. All right. Okay, so here's our base level. So now let's talk a little bit about how this death cube is going to work. So we are going to go ahead and we are going to place down one level of death cube like this. You look good. All right. And one of the problems with the death cube as it stands is that this middle block is hard to get into. So we're going to treat this middle block like our ingress-egress point. On the standard death cube, we have the stairs that clip to the sides and allow people to go up and down. We're not going to be able to do that for this set because there isn't a fantasy version of those kinds of stairs. There is a fantasy swirly stair, which is what we're going to place basically in the middle of this death cube. So, with that being said, we can go ahead and we can start putting pieces down. So, you can see they kind of just sit in nice and easy, and then they go and they hang off the side like this. Now, these ones are going to hang off the edge. So this death cube won't be flat like the other one. Now, I'm doing this on purpose because there isn't a flat version of the half-size tile. So there isn't one of these that's cut in half like this. Now, I could probably 3D print myself one, but I think if I leave them hang off like this, I might have some more options for connecting things in the future if I want to. So that's kind of my plan. So we'll end up with things like this. And let's say, let's try to actually plan out the layout a little bit. So let's see. This is going to be my center. This is going to get something like that. Maybe it'll get like this. This is the kind of fun kind of play around point of it, right? It's where we kind of figure out how we want it to work. So we'll put this guy down here like that. Busted wall right there because that's cool. You can kind of see it starting to take shape. So we like to make sure that each side at least has one wall to support the next level, right? One of these connectors on the outside, right? So we want to make sure each one of those has at least one of those to support the next level. Now we need to do any additional floors. So the additional floors come in a couple different ways. This is the platforms upgrade. So they come in 4 connectors, 2 connectors, or full 4 connectors. And how they work is they just click right on. Come on. Just like that. So if we wanted this whole area here covered in a roof, we could do that with 2 of these 2x4s. See, like that. And that would give us like a second level here. However, we don't want to do that. What we want to do is we want to do a half level between where we are and what we have. So, you know, you think I would like organize these pieces instead of just having them in a giant pile. That might make my life a little easier. So I definitely did not print out enough half levels. Guess I only printed out 4 of those. Yep, we're gonna have to update that. All right, we definitely don't have enough half levels. Okay, but see, what I want here is a half level, right? So I know I printed out some half level walls. Oh, actually, I bet you I never did. Shit. Okay. Well, we definitely can't glue anything down. I'm missing some half level walls. But this is why you start assembling it. Then you realize what you're missing. So these will also get walls. So there's going to be walls here, walls there, like that. And then on top of that, you'll get this higher level. Come on. There we go. And like that. Right? You'll get this. And then how that's going to look. Come on. And these things are fun to build, but this is one of the reasons you glue your death cube together so that you can just grab it, right? So how that's going to look is like this. So you're going to have a whole lot of room to put your hand in and play under this level, right? So you'll actually be able to like reach your miniatures and stuff. So if I hold this, right, you can see I can fit my whole hand in there. So unlike the death cube now, where like I can only get like half of my hand in there, I can get my whole hand under this one. So it's going to enable us to do that, which is pretty sweet. So using this like level and a half idea is going to let us build these like secondary floors into this single level death cube. So we can still have some height variation between the levels. Now the cool thing about height variation is that since the death cube is essentially continuing upwards from here, right? We're going to be able to look down from this level down to the level below us. Because this... Do I have one of those not screwed up? This keeps going. So the death cube continues to extend, and it's going to end up being about that tall right there. That's how tall she's going to be in total. So you're going to be able to stay here, look down on the level below you like that, and you're going to be able to play in the rooms underneath as well. Now, the next level here is going to be that flat roof level that we talked about. There we go. There we go. So yeah, so it should be pretty cool. Now there are some challenges that I'm going to have to figure out for this. So one, I very clearly need more pillars, and I very clearly need more half pillars, and I need to actually print my half walls. But the fun thing about this is that because these are all essentially the same size, you'll be able to switch these up and have them be at like different heights and stuff, which is pretty cool. But all right, so if we plan this level out, right? So our players are going to come down here, and we're going to want them to be able to get out of this thing in 2 different directions easily, right? So this they'll have to go over as terrain, and then let's say we let them leave here, like that. Let's take this one and let's put it over here. Okay. Maybe that's what we do. Okay. And then we can put another wall here. Now, at no point do we want to stop the players, because that's one of the problems I have with this. That's why I had to cut this chunk here out. Because I never wanted to hit a dead end and not have the players be able to go somewhere. I don't want them to have to backtrack across the length. It makes for more fun if they can just kind of go where they want to go. So, we can accomplish that in a couple of different ways, even by building flat walls. So, let's see. One of the ways is to make the entrance through some way like this, where the players can still go through it, right? So they can still get through that piece. That's a good way to do it. And another way is to use the elevation. Force the players to go up to be able to go down is another way to do it. So right now the death cube's kind of divided up into like a fan, right? Where it's kind of like 2 cubes, right? 2 cubes, 2 cubes, 2 cubes, right? Very symmetrical. We probably don't want that in the end result. We want it to probably not be very symmetrical. We want some variation in there, and we want it to be kind of neat. So, come on, there we go. So if we make this 2 levels here, I have one of these, and we could, in theory, block off, say, this over here as well. So we wind up with a couple of little levels there. Because we'll do this one, and then we'll do this one like that. And we'll essentially have 2 levels like this. So to do that, we need to readjust the walls a little bit. So we'll have an entrance in here, and then this one down here is going to get full blocked off, because to get around it, players are going to have to go up, and we'll drill a hole in one of these so players can go down them. Over here in this corner, we need to make this shape work somehow. So we're going to need probably an arch so players can go under it like that. Now, the problem with this design is it's going to produce a strong alleyway, and we don't want that. So we will ditch that arm right there, and then we can swap this piece where players can move through the broken wall in there. All right. So we really don't want you don't want ever a block to be more than 1 deep, because it's going to be impossible to reach inside, or very hard for a person with big fat hands, it becomes really, really hard to get inside of it when you are more than one deep. So this situation is fine, but if we do this, this block is almost unusable now. So we don't want to do that. So we'd want it to be kind of open like this. And maybe we can imply that there was a wall there or something. Like we've got these broken guys here. We could put one of those in, right? And imply that there was a wall there that's now broken. And then what that's going to do is it's going to give us 2 levels up above that are going to look like, come on. They're going to go like this. Now you can see that these hang over a little bit. That kind of sucks. I wish they were flush. But it is what it is. Come on. There we go. There we go. Okay. So yeah, so we'll get 2 levels. It'll kind of be like that. So we'll have kind of this big dip here where people can come out and interact. We'll have a room under this one, and then we'll have a room under this one as well. And then we'll have this big open area here too. Now, the fun thing of this is going to allow us to use ladders here, which is kind of cool. And we can also do things like build a walkway. So we'll be able to build like a rickety walkway to go between these 2 pieces, which would be kind of cool as well. So definitely some neat options there for us. Now, here in the middle, this is going to be our spiral staircase. I have not figured out how big the spiral staircases are yet because I have not printed one. So what might end up happening is we might end up not having the spiral staircase and instead have like a series of ladders going up instead. I just have to see how big it is and go from there. So you can see these kind of hang over, right? They hang over the space. And that's because these are these bigger pillars. They're made to cover those. So if we look at this one, right, we can see it covers 100% this bigger pillar, right? But the bigger pillar hangs over. So, yeah. I think I'll print a couple more of those out, actually. Just because they break up the visuals for it. So yeah, so this way, right, we'll have players come down in the center. They'll be able to leave this way. They'll be able to go in this room, continue around through here, or come through this door, right? So this whole corner is kind of open, even if they have to go over this ruin here. And then they'll be able to come this way. They'll hit a dead wall, so they'll have to go up onto the second floor. I'll cut a hole in the second floor, so they have to drop down, right? So they can still make the full loop. That's my goal with this. I don't want to ever stop them in any way. I want them to be able to basically marathon sprint entirely around one level. Because like when you move into an area and then have to move out, it kind of sucks from a miniature standpoint because you're using that movement, right? Like at most you get 6 inches of move. So when you have to move in and then use like another move to move out, that kind of sucks. It feels like you are backtracking, but it really feels like it when you can only move 6 inches. So we want to make sure that while there are some obstacles, like say having to go up or climb through broken walls and stuff, there's still a way around. Now, something else that we want to make sure there are alternate ways around, things like the broken wall here, but that every wall isn't just open, so people still have to move around, right? There's still some obstructions. Now, as we go up, we can keep this idea going as well, by enabling where people can like look down and interact with. So let's say this block right here, right? So let's look at this block really quick. So come on. All right. She's going to want to fall because this one only has 2 corners of the 4 supported, but this will do for now. So, all right. So say this block right here, right? Come on. Get in your little buttholes. There we go. All right. So say this block right here. We have a couple different ways that this person or this block can interact. We could do things like build a solid wall here. Now they can't get to the center, right? We could do things like build a broken wall here, and now they can look down from this corner. We can keep that idea going, right? And maybe we that one kind of blocks it pretty hard and turns this into a hard stop L, so we don't want that. Maybe we have a way in over here, right? Maybe that's the intent. And then this wall over here is the broken one. Now, as we kind of add more and more, the intent really is to have the users be able to move around, right? Like we want some obstacles, but we don't want to hard stop them. It's one of the reasons why we don't want a hard wall right there, because then there's only one way in. And we don't really want that, right? We want some way to be able to get in and out. What I might actually do is take one of the walls that has all the metal pipes and cut out a bunch of the metal pipes. I think that would look pretty cool. One of those. I think that would look really cool. Yeah, same thing for the other room, right? So if this is this is our platform for the other room, and people are going to be able to get in and out through both sides underneath of it. We're going to want them to be able to do the same on the top. So we put all our pillars in like this. Okay. This wall and this wall are going to be facing, right? So we want to do something with those. Like maybe we want to have one of them be busted like this. So people will be able to shoot over it, right? But they won't be able to, they're going to have to stop there to climb over it. Maybe we want something like that. Maybe we want something more like this, right? So they'll be able to shoot better out of it and have a better vantage point, something like that, maybe. Maybe we want to do something like that on actually maybe both sides, right? Right, so we have kind of 2 vantage points they could shoot out of in this little busted room. So that's a possibility, right? And that would be kind of like that, which would be kind of cool. So yeah, so I do think we'll do the 2 double layers. We'll do the floor and a half. I think that works really well. And now I have a rough idea of what else I need to print. So I definitely need more pillars. I need more half pillars. How many half pillars do I have? 1, 2, 3. I have 4. Okay. I have more of these half pillars. All right. So let's say that one And this one, say this guy becomes a big pillar, not a little pillar. All right. And then I'm going to need 2 more back here, and then a duplicate of this for the next level. So I need 2 more little pillars for this level. Let me make some notes. Uh, 2 half pillars plus dupe for next level. Okay, so we know we need that. I'm going to need 3 more of the fat pillars because I want to do 1, and I think I want to do 2 of these. So like 1 there and then like 1 here. I like that. So I'm going to need 3 more fat pillars. 3 more. Three more fat pillars. Okay. And then I'm going to need a whole bunch of half walls. That's what I'm going to need after that. So those I'll probably just print out in full. I really like this, so I might print another one of these too. Those I'll probably just print out en masse. I'll probably just print out a shit ton of those. Yeah, so if we plan out how the walls are going to work, we can also think about our spacers, what we're going to need for spacers. So, all right. So this one back here gets covered in a floor, so he doesn't need a spacer. This right here all gets covered in floor, so he doesn't need a spacer. However, when we move to the next, we're going to need one just flat 4 spacer for this. So I need 1 spacer there. And then we move to the next level, we'll need a spacer on top. So that will look something like this. Like that. And then something like that, probably. And then this one over here will just be that. Yeah, that should be good. That should be it. Okay, so I basically already have those then already printed, so I don't need to worry about that. Okay, so I know what I need. I need a whole shit ton of half walls. I need 3 fat pillars. I need a whole double set of these, again, printed, of the half pillars. I need a whole shit ton of half walls printed. I need spacers for the bottom printed as well. Nice. Okay. I think that's good. I think we are definitely in a good spot then. Very cool. Very, very cool. All right. Well, that was our planning for our fantasy death cube. I think I'm in a spot where I need to go print. I don't think I'll be able to glue anything today, unfortunately. At least not until I'm done printing. Yeah. But I think it's in a good spot. I think the layout will be fun. And I think the multi-levels is going to be interesting as well. So, yeah, I think that's pretty good. All right. Well, I'm going to go get printing. And I'm going to say thank you guys for watching because I'm going to go print time now. And yeah, next time you see this, it should be together and ready for priming. Or it should be together and primed. I might actually have some of the base coats down too. This one will be vastly easier to paint than the actual Death Cube because the actual Death Cube has a couple extra colors in it that just aren't going to work in this. So Um, yeah, like I had to do things like paint the walls and paint on all the tubes and stuff like that, right? And this isn't going to have that. So, all right, kick ass, sweet. All right, well, I'm going to call it there and go get printing. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you have a good one, and as always, keep on keeping on.